You're standing in your manager's office again, third time this month. You're asking if you can work extra hours. Not because you want something fun, not to save for a trip. You need those extra hours just to pay your bills on time. And while you're standing there, something clicks in your head. Wait, I've done this before. I had this exact same conversation 3 months ago. I asked for more hours then too. And 6 months before that. And last year, you're working more, but you're not getting ahead. You're just keeping your head above water. You trade your time for money every single hour, and somehow other people don't. You know people who aren't working extra, people who cut back their hours. Some even quit their jobs completely, and they're fine. Their bills get paid. They're not starving. They're not homeless. They're not millionaires. They just figured out how to stop trading every hour of their day for a paycheck. They have free time. You don't. They're building something that lasts. You're just surviving until the next paycheck. And if nothing changes, you'll be in this office 10 years from now, 20 years from now, asking for extra hours until your body can't do it anymore, or until they decide they don't need you. My name is Richard. I teach the stuff about money that school never covered. I spend way too much time reading about money and studying why some people build wealth easily while others work their entire lives and still struggle. If this video helps you think about money differently, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. Now, before we get into the topic, I want you to think about something. Working extra hours doesn't fix the real problem. Let's say you work 10 extra hours this week. You get a bigger paycheck, feels good, right? But then what happens? Rent comes out, electric bill, groceries, car payment, gas. 2 weeks later, that money's gone, and you're right back where you started. Except now you're more tired, and you gave up your weekend. Time you'll never get back. Meanwhile, you know people, maybe not a lot, but you've met them, who aren't working extra. They're not grinding 60-hour weeks. And somehow, they're okay. Their bills get paid. They're not stressed. They're not begging their boss for more shifts. They just stopped working so much. So what's different? What do they know that you don't? Because the internet makes it sound easy. Buy a rental property. Invest in stocks that pay you. Make money while you sleep. But if it's really that easy, why are you still stuck asking for overtime? But here's where things get interesting. Here's what nobody explains about passive income. You don't need to be a millionaire. What you actually need is 25 times whatever you spend in a year. Let me say that slower because this is the most important thing in this whole video. Take what you spend in 1 year, multiply it by 25. That's your number. Here's an example. Let's say you spend $40,000 a year. That's your rent, food, car, everything combined. You'd need $1 million saved and invested. If you spend $80,000 a year, you'd need $2 million saved. See how this works? It's not about how big your paycheck is. It's about how much money you actually need to live your life. That's the only number that matters. This comes from something called the 4% rule. I know that sounds boring, but stay with me for 10 seconds because this is actually really simple. Here's the idea. Let's say you have money invested in stocks and bonds. Basic stuff. You can take out 4% of that money every year to live on. And if you do that, the math says you probably won't run out of money for at least 30 years. 4%. That's the magic number. So if you have $1 million invested, 4% of that is $40,000. That's what you get to spend each year. If you need more than $40,000 to live, you need more than $1 million saved. If you need less, you need less. It's just basic math. But here's where people get confused. They think passive income means money magically appears forever and you never touch your savings. That's not what's happening. You're actually selling tiny pieces of your investments each year, little by little. The bet is that the money you haven't spent yet grows faster than what you're taking out. You're not living off interest like a savings account. You're slowly using up your money, but in a controlled way that should last decades. And here's the trap that gets everyone. Let's say you figure out you need $50,000 a year to live comfortably. You do the math. Okay, I need $1,250,000 saved. So you grind for 10 years. You work overtime every chance you get. You skip vacations. You save every dollar you can. And finally, at age 45, you hit that number. You quit your job. You feel amazing. You're free. But here's what nobody warned you about. Prices go up. $50,000 today doesn't buy the same amount of stuff in 20 years. Let me show you real numbers so you can see it. If prices go up just 3% a year, which is normal, that happens all the time, in 20 years, you'll need about $72,000 to buy the same exact things that cost you $50,000 today. Think about that for a second. You didn't change anything. You're not buying fancier food. You're not upgrading your car. You're buying the exact same bread, the exact same eggs, the exact same gas. But now it costs $72,000 instead of $50,000. Same life, higher price tag. If your income stays at $50,000, like if you bought bonds that pay a fixed amount, you're basically getting a pay cut every single year. Nobody announces it to you. There's no letter from your boss, but your money buys less and less. Look, by the time you're 65, you'll be buying the cheapest canned food in the store, skipping the doctor because you can't afford the copay, and even keeping the heat low in winter to save money. You'll be sitting there wondering, how did this happen? I had enough money. You did the math right. You just forgot that prices don't stay the same. They creep up every single year. Here's the big lesson. The real trap isn't that you need a huge amount of money. It's that most people calculate their number once, based on today's prices, and then forget that everything gets more expensive over time. Your lifestyle stays the same, but your money buys less and less every year. So what do? You plan for things to go wrong. Don't plan for everything to be perfect. Plan for normal, average life. A lot of money experts say take out somewhere between 3.5% and 4% each year. But here's the key. You have to be flexible. In bad years when the stock market drops, maybe you take out 3% and cut back a little. In good years, you take out 4%. If you can do that, your chances of success go way up. The math is clear. Being able to adjust your spending is more important than just having more money. It's about not having to sell your investments when prices are down. Which brings me to the next big problem. All right, so now you know the real math, but here's the part that scares me the most. What if the stock market crashes right after you quit your job? This has a fancy name, sequence of returns risk, but forget the name. Here's what it means. You could do everything perfectly, save your money, invest it right, follow all the rules, and still lose everything in 5 years, just because of bad timing. Here's why. Let's say over 30 years, your investments grow an average of 7%. That sounds pretty good, right? But here's the problem. When those gains and losses happen, matters a lot. If the market crashes big in your first couple years of retirement, while you're also taking money out to pay bills, you're in serious trouble. You dig yourself into a hole so deep you can never climb out. Even if the market goes way up later. Why? Because you're selling your investments when they're worth way less. Just to buy food and pay rent, you're making your pile of money smaller and smaller at the worst possible time. Let me show you how bad this can get with a real example. Imagine you retire in 2008 with $1 million. You did everything right. You saved for years. You invested smart. You followed the plan. And then boom, the market crashes right away. Your $1 million drops to $700,000. But you still need $40,000 that year to live on. So you take out $40,000. Now you're down to $660,000. The next year, the market drops again. You need another $40,000 to live. You take it out. Now look at what happened. In just 2 years, you've lost a third of your money. A third. Not because you bought stupid stuff. Not because you went crazy spending. You just got unlucky with timing. To get back to where you started, the market would need to go up a ton. But here's the problem. You have way less money now to grow. You started with $1 million. Now you only have around $600,000. Even if the market does great after this, you've permanently lost money that could have been growing for you. Now here's the crazy part. Your neighbor retires in 2010, just 2 years after you. He has the exact same plan, the exact same investments, everything identical, and he's totally fine. His money is growing. He's not worried at all. Same plan, same strategy, same everything. The only difference? He got lucky. The market went up right after he retired. You got unlucky. The market crashed right after you retired. Here's the big truth nobody tells you. You can do everything perfectly and still lose all your money in 5 years. It depends on what the stock market does right after you quit your job. That's pure luck. And nobody talks about this when they're trying to sell you on the idea of retiring early. And here's the part that messes with your head even more. It's easy to say, just hold on, don't panic when you have a paycheck coming every 2 weeks. It's completely different when your investments are your only money and they just dropped 30%. You're watching your life savings shrink every day. You start thinking, should I just sell everything before I lose it all? Most people don't fail because they did the math wrong. They fail because they got scared and sold everything at the worst possible time. Their plan was fine, their emotions weren't. So, how do you protect yourself? You keep a cash buffer. This is sometimes called a bond tent. The idea is simple. You keep 1 to 3 years of living expenses in cash or short term bonds when you first retire. If the stock market crashes in year one, you don't sell a single share of stock. You spend your cash buffer. You live off the savings account and let your stocks recover. Once the market bounces back, which historically takes a couple of years, you replenish the cash buffer. This acts as a shock absorber. Yes, holding that much cash drags down your long term returns slightly, but it buys you insurance against the worst case scenario. It ensures you never have to sell a stock when it's down 20% just to buy a sandwich. Think of it like this: your investments are like a chicken that lays eggs. If you're starving and you kill the chicken to eat it, what happens? You get one meal. But now you have no more eggs. Ever! You're done! The cash you keep on the side lets you eat during the hard times without killing the chicken. Then, when things get better, the chicken is still alive, still laying eggs for you. So that's the timing problem. But here's what most people get completely wrong about passive income from the start. When people think about passive income, they picture money just showing up. Rent checks in the mail, dividend payments hitting their bank account, money coming in without selling anything. It feels safer. It feels real. You still own the rental house, you still own the stocks. And if the market crashes, you think, well, I'll still get my rent check, right? That feeling of safety is exactly why so many people jump into this without checking the real numbers. Here's the trap: the money coming in is not the same as the money you keep. I see this all the time with rental properties. Someone buys a house and rents it out for $2,000 a month. They tell everyone, I'm making $24,000 a year in passive income. No, you're actually not. That $2,000 is just the money coming in. Now you have to pay property taxes, insurance. When stuff breaks, you pay to fix it. When the tenant moves out, the place sits empty for a month or two. If you hire someone to manage it, they take a cut, and every 20 years or so, you need a new roof. That costs tens of thousands of dollars. After you pay for all of that, you might only keep $600 a month, not $2,000, and you still have to pay income tax on that $600. So if you want to replace a $40,000 salary with actual rental income, the money you keep after all the bills, you don't just need 1 or 2 houses. You might need 10 or 12 rental properties, all paid off completely, no mortgages. Suddenly, you're not an investor relaxing on a beach. You're a property manager with a full-time job. Let me tell you about someone I actually know. He bought 3 rental properties. He thought they'd replace his $60,000 salary. On paper, they brought in $5,000 a month total. That's way more than enough to live on, right? So he quit his corporate job. He felt free. Finally! No more boss breathing down his neck, no more overtime, no more begging for days off. But here's what actually happened. After property taxes, insurance, repairs, empty months between tenants, and paying someone to help manage the properties, he was only keeping about $2,200 a month, less than half of what it looked like on paper. And he was spending 15 to 20 hours every single week dealing with problems. Tenants calling because the sink is leaking, coordinating plumbers and electricians, chasing people down for late rent, driving to the properties to check on things, dealing with evictions when someone wouldn't leave. He didn't retire, he just became a part-time landlord with no health insurance, no vacation days, and no boss to complain to when things go sideways. He traded a steady paycheck and predictable hours for a side hustle that texts him at midnight. He's working just as much as before. He just convinced himself it's not real work anymore. Here's the truth nobody wants to hear. The passive income you see online, the rent checks, the stock dividends, that's called money coming in, not freedom. Real passive income either requires a massive pile of money up front or it requires you to keep working to manage it. There's no magic option where it's truly hands off and covers all your bills. So, what's the solution? Most people who actually retire early use a mix of both strategies. They keep most of their money in basic index funds. Those are investments that grow over time. They take money out of those when they need it, but they also have some money coming in from other places. Maybe a rental property that covers their groceries and electric bill. Just the basics. That way, if the stock market crashes, they know they can still eat and keep the lights on without having to sell their investments when prices are low. You use that steady income to take pressure off your main investments. You don't need it to cover everything, just enough so you don't panic during the bad years. Okay, so we've talked about the math, the timing problems, and why rental income isn't as easy as it sounds. But here's the thing that actually changes everything, and it has nothing to do with how you invest your money. Here's the most powerful thing I'm going to tell you in this entire video. Every dollar you spend costs you $25 in freedom. Let me break that down. Remember, you need 25 times your yearly spending to retire. So every single dollar you spend means you need $25 saved and invested. Forever. That $15 Netflix subscription, that's not just 15 bucks a month. That's $375 you need sitting in investments just to pay for Netflix for the rest of your life. A $500 car payment? That's not just $500 a month. You need $150,000 invested just to cover that one car payment. Forever. When you start thinking about money this way, every time you buy something, it's not just about the price, it's about how many extra hours you have to work to support that thing forever. Here's where it gets really interesting. Most people stress about making their investments grow faster. They want an extra 1 or 2% returns, but here's the secret. Cutting what you spend by just 1% is worth way more than that because when you spend less, you win twice. You have more money to save right now, and you need less money in the future. It's a double win. Here's the trap most people fall into. They save up $500,000. Then they think, actually, I need $1 million. They hit $1 million. Now they're thinking, I really need $2 million so I can get a nicer house and take better vacations and buy a boat. If every time you save more money, you decide you need more stuff, you never actually get free. You're just running faster on the same treadmill. The finish line keeps moving further away every time you get close. The people who actually make this work, they pick a number and stick to it. They decide what enough looks like for them, and then they protect that number like their life depends on it. They don't care what car their neighbor drives. They don't care what everyone's posting on Instagram. They know their number, and they don't let anything change it. Here's the big realization. Your problem isn't that you don't make enough money. Your problem is you spend too much. And the fastest way to stop working overtime forever isn't getting a raise or making more money. It's needing less money in the first place. All right, before you go, I need to hear from you. How are you guys actually making passive income? Do you feel like passive income is even a real thing, or is it just a trigger word that people use to take money from new investors and beginner investors who are trying to learn? Or do you genuinely think passive income is real and achievable? Do you know somebody that's actually making passive income, or are you making it yourself right now? Drop your own strategies in the comments. Maybe we can help somebody who's lost or still fighting their way to find an option to escape this 9 to 5 cycle. Are ETFs and index funds the only real trusted way to early retirement, or at least to having a full savings by the time you do retire from work? Because honestly, it seems like ETFs and index funds are the most promising thing in the stock market in general. But whatever you do, you have to be strategic. You have to weigh out your risk. It's all about risk management, not risking your whole pot on this one thing hoping it blows up. That's how you lose everything. You have to do your research. I know a lot of people that got rich in the past 5 years just because they're really good at doing research, which leads to the answers they need to succeed. So keep that in mind. I want this to be a community where we all learn together, where we share strategies, where we help each other win, because when one of us wins, we all win. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell me what's working for you. Tell me what you're struggling with. Let's build this knowledge together. And remember, you get what you put in. The work you do up front determines the freedom you get later. Stay consistent, stay disciplined. Keep seeking knowledge. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.